As the baby boomer population ages, it's time to start thinking about Social Security. But who's eligible for Social Security? You know, it's more than just the older population. Laura McKinnon of McKinnon Law Firm is with us this morning. She has all the answers about Social Security. Thank you for giving us your time this Sunday morning. How's it going?
It's going just great. Thank you for having me, Ashley.
Absolutely. We've got a lot to cover when we're talking about Social Security. First up is who's eligible for Social Security?
It's people that are injured or disabled or have some sort of illness, and all of a sudden they can't work full-time anymore. It's a little bit of a misnomer that people think that they have to be totally disabled. There's some rules in there that says if you can only work part-time and can't work totally, that you're still able to apply.
So walk us through the criteria that determines disability then.
There's some very complex federal rules, and that's why you really need an attorney to sort of wade through that. And they set it up where there's almost barriers to getting through it. There's 5 levels of appeals. There's all sorts of magic words that you need your doctors to say. Medical, under the new rules, medical totally makes or breaks the case. So if your doctors, even though they want to help you, if they don't know the right words to say, you're still going to have a real problem.
Now, when we are talking about going through all the criteria and going through all the rules, you say there's 5 different levels. It sounds like this can be a rather lengthy process. What's the timeline here that you're usually looking at?
Well, if you're over in Oklahoma, it can take up to 2 years after you've gone through the appeals and you're with the judges. They're very far behind right now. What we're looking at in Fort Smith is the judges have been wonderful. They've really been really got their docket up, and you're looking at really less than a year. It still takes a tremendous amount of time. There's some things that as an attorney I can do to speed it up, again, if I get the doctors to say certain things.
Now, why is the medical documentation so important then?
They changed the rules here several years ago where if a doctor doesn't say it, it doesn't count. And that's really ludicrous. It's almost to the point, for example, I had one case in the Clarksville area where the client came in with a glass eye. And because he hadn't got any medical treatment for the eye in a long time, the judge was not allowed by law to consider that he was partially blind. You have to have a doctor saying something.
All right, so that's why the documentation is so important. You help weed through this. You say a lawyer really can help like yourself.
They really have to. It's gotten so complex. It's just a totally different world from even what it was 10 years ago.
And like you said, there have been so many changes that happen, and those changes can be pretty cumbersome.
There can be very cumbersome, and one of the things you'll see is people will think they've won, but the Social Security Administration, because of the way the rules are, will cheat them out of back pay. And I don't mean they're intending to, but these people will not realize that they could have got some benefits going quite a ways back, and they don't know that they just got a partial win.
Now, when people come into your office, do they usually have tons of questions, don't really understand the system? Are you able to kind of walk them through that? Is it one of those things that's just so massive that it's hard to wrap your head around?
I was meeting with a woman here about 2 hours ago, and we went through it forever because it was very complex. It was a disabled widow's case, and she just had extra questions, and that's what I'm there for and my team's there for.
Now, your firm is known for always no win, no fee. Sounds simple. Is it really that simple?
It really is. That's the only way I believe you can do it. That is the, I can't speak for other law firms, that is the way you're supposed to do it in Social Security.
Now, when someone comes into your office, they've got Social Security questions, what do you tell them is the first thing that they need to do?
Well, if they've got to me in time, and that's so I don't have to clean up messes later, if they've got to me right when they're applying, I can help them with some of the language they do on the application. We can speed up the process quite a lot because my law firm and some other law firms are in this program where we electronically file the appeals, and that can speed it up months. And so if they'll get to us soon enough, we can do some of that appealing and applying for them.
So medical documentation is one of the things that they're going to have to walk into your office with. What else are they going to need when trying to win?
They don't need to come in with the medical documentation. That's what I'm there for. I write the doctors, I get the doctors to understand the law, and I really take over start to finish.
Well, it sounds... Go ahead.
I'm sorry. They've got enough of a problem being disabled. They're in pain. They feel very bad because they're dependent upon their family, and these people, their mama and daddy raised them to work. They feel very bad, and so they really need someone else to be taking and holding their hand and getting getting them through it.
Well, Laura McKinnon, you can do that. And of course, if you have any questions for her, she can help you out. Just log on to our website at 5newsonline.com. Click on the tab which says As Seen on 5, then click on the Ask the Expert. You'll find a link to Ask the Expert. You can email your questions directly to Laura. By the way, McKinnon Law Firm has offices in Fayetteville, Fort Smith, and in Russellville. The toll-free number that you can call them at 1-888-558-8841. Of course, any questions for Laura or any of our 5 News legal experts can be answered online. Now, we just want to remind you, Laura only practices Social Security, disability, car wrecks, and workman's comp. Of course, we're going to talk more about this in depth throughout the next couple of weeks. Thanks so much for being here with us this Sunday morning.
Thank you.
You're welcome. More 5 Sunday Morning coming up right after this.